Crowhill here. Today we review a lager and discuss transhumanism. Hey, good evening, Pigweed. All right.
Good evening, Crowhill. How about some beer and conversation?
That's a great idea. What are we drinking?
This is just a plain old American lager.
Plain old American lager. That's fantastic.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I
What's
love
on
that.
your mind?
Well, I think this is an exciting topic that we have for today.
Exciting, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. How about scary?
Well, sure. I mean, it's also scary, but think about the possibilities.
I'd rather not.
Well, look, human enhancement is the future.
Well, yeah, I guess you can cut off body parts and replace the body parts. I mean, it's kind of gross.
Well, yeah, but look, if you had to replace a body part, it could be better than the original, like the bionic man.
That's what we need. A woman with a bionic penis.
Bionic penis? What are you talking about? Look, most of this has to do with the brain.
Oh, so maybe we could make a man think like a woman.
I don't think that's the plan.
Well, they could remove reason and logic. That's a gender joke.
Okay, well, that's a good one. But let's get away from this penis and gender stuff.
It's penis and gender stuff all the way down. It's in the name. Transgenderism.
Oh, I see. Wait, did you actually research today's topic?
Not really.
Okay, it's transhumanism, not transgender.
Oh, does that now make my bionic penis reference
Not really
later?
relevant, I hope. Yeah. So I think we need a beer. So
Indeed.
okay, let's get into this beer. Big Oyster Brewery, which you said is in Lewis.
In Lewis, Delaware. You're on your way to the beach, or actually at the beach.
Yeah.
And it's called Beach Traffic. At
So is the
4%.
idea that you're stuck in traffic on Route 50 and
Yeah.
you're drinking this beer?
Yeah, it's only 4%.
I know. Okay, it's 4%. Yeah,
Probably
so it's not
drink
gonna
3 or
hurt
4 of those while
Yeah.
sitting in traffic.
So 4%. Yeah, that's good. I like the low alcohol beers as an option. You know, when you're sitting on the beach. You know, you don't want to be drinking pounded down at 8% or something. You know,
Driving to the beach.
Or driving to the beach. Certainly not in that situation. Yeah, this is actually pretty nice.
Yeah,
it's
pretty
light.
Nice. Light.
But it's got a nice flavor. It's a light American lager. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done.
Beach Traffic.
Big Oyster. Do they sell oysters over there?
I don't know. I'm not.
You're not a Big Oyster guy.
No,
so-
I'm not. But I have been to Big Oyster when we went camping at Cape Henlopen.
Yeah. Did we go by there? Did
we sit out the rain?
Oh, yes.
Was that Big Oyster?
I don't know. Well, we did sit out the rain at a brewery.
At a brewery, and, it had a big overhang.
Yes,
It was a very nice
yes.
place to
And I got a call from a friend. I remember that. Yeah, I remember that distinctly. It was a very nice place.
I think that was Big Oyster.
That probably was Big Oyster.
Anyway.
Okay, fantastic. All right, well, keep them coming. Send us another of your offerings, and we'll review it. Fantastic. Transhumanism. So what in the world does that mean?
Well. What does it mean? I've got a little definition here.
Yeah, go for it.
It says a philosophical movement that advocates for enhancing the human condition through advanced technologies, aiming to improve longevity, cognition, and overall well-being. It explores the potential benefits and ethical implications of emerging technologies that could significantly alter human capabilities and experiences, and that is a very rosy...
Yeah, that's a very rosy picture of it. That's right. So I have a shorter definition.
All right.
Improving human strength, intelligence, memory, sensory perception, emotional well-being, and lifespan through technology.
All right, still pretty rosy.
Still pretty rosy.
Now,
yes.
let's look at... what about ear implants, prosthetics...
Right.
CRISPR gene
Yeah, let's
editing.
back up even
Does
farther.
that qualify?
I'm wearing some
Wearing
technology.
glasses?
I'm wearing
Yeah.
glasses,
Yes.
right? So that's using technology to enhance human experience, right?
But it's to restore a deficit
Yes.
to what's natural,
That's
to
right.
something not.
That's right. And a lot of people, and I've heard several people make this distinction, the distinction between restoring a natural function or enhancing or changing a natural function. And that sounds like it makes sense, but the more you think about it, it's like, let's say I get my eye knocked out in an accident.
Yeah.
And they want to give me a new eye. Now, does the new eye have to do exactly what the old eye did? Can't it, like, do some cool new things?
Lindsay Wagner.
Yeah, right. Bionic woman, right?
Or no. He had the eye. She had the ear.
Is that right?
I think that's what it was.
I don't remember what it was. I don't remember what it was. But anyway, a great show. But so the idea that you can make this sharp distinction between restoring and enhancing, I'm not so sure about that. Like, if I have a knee replacement, does the knee replacement have to be? What if they make it a little better than my old knee?
All right. What if? All right. So you're an avid runner.
Yeah.
As a result of this, you've worn your darn knees out. They put in better knees than you had before.
Now you run really faster.
Right now, but are you disqualified from the Olympics?
I would hope so. I would hope so.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you've
it's an
been
enhancement.
enhanced.
Yes. Right. Exactly. It's the same
performance enhancing.
It's just exactly.
Whatever.
It's the same concept as doping or anything else that people do to cheat. You can't say, oh, I've got bionic knees now and I'm going to run against people with regular knees.
26 miles, nothing.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So this I get the basic concept of restoring versus enhancing,
Right.
but the more you dig into it, I mean, it doesn't quite work as what the standard ought to be. So I was asking, I was thinking about what should the standard be? Like, how do we decide? Well, I'm not sure we need to get.
So let's just say. First of all, let me say that I thought this was Star Trek-y,
Yeah.
science fiction fun
Right.
stuff
Yeah.
where we can fuse man and machine.
Yeah.
Looking into this, there are a lot of
It's
people
going on all the
at
time.
the upper echelons of power and politics and technology
Yeah.
who are thinking about this a lot.
Yeah.
All your AI companies
Right.
they're not just trying to make a better Google.
Yeah.
They are thinking about this. There's a lot of investment.
Yeah.
And a lot of
They want to
enthusiasm.
extend their life.
And
Yeah.
a lot of enthusiasm, and then a lot of understandable fear.
Yes. So a lot of these tech titans
Yeah.
are doing they're doing research into, what if you get injections or transfusions of young people's blood, that kind of
Yeah.
to try to make them live longer, or if you're taking all these crazy chemicals and doing this stuff to try to lengthen your life, or is it possible to upload your brain to the cloud so that you can live? There's all kinds of crazy stuff
Right.
going on.
Right, but I guess the point I'm making is it's actually going on.
It is actually going on.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think
they're thinking of things in the in our lifetime, and I
Yeah.
always just thought that this was just something fun to think about.
Well, it's not only in our lifetime; it's already happened. So Elon Musk has this thing called Neuralink,
Yeah.
and the idea is, like, for somebody who's paralyzed, that because what happens when you're paralyzed is that the signal is getting stopped at a certain point,
Yeah.
like the cord, the connection is severed. Well, what if you can bypass that? What if you can grab the signal at point A and send it down to point B through this technology to make the spinal cord work the way it's supposed to work, right? That technology is already being developed right now. They have people with this Neuralink technology that can move an arm that they wouldn't otherwise be able to move through their, through thinking about it.
What if they couldn't fix that severed connection, but they can connect the brain to a bionic arm?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So that's the kind of stuff that's going on.
Right. So where you're talking, or somebody with locked-in syndrome or something like that, like you can talk with your brain and you can move things with your brain.
Yeah.
Which how
Sounds
wonderful
great.
is that for the people who in this condition?
Exactly. So and that's what they're going to sell us. What they're going to tell us is, look at these people who are paralyzed. Look at these people who have these disabilities. Look at these people who had this horrible accident. And, look at these veterans who went out and risked their life for your sake. And here they've got this problem. Shouldn't we use technology to fix that? That's the way they're going to sell it. But that's not where it's going to stop.
No.
And so I was thinking, like, what what is it really? Like, so sometimes it's a brain-computer interface, like the
Yes.
Neuralink thing. Sometimes it's genetic engineering. Like,
Mm-hmm.
could you modify babies in utero or something? Like, apparently, relatively high number of parents say, sure, I'd put a chip in my baby's brain if it would help them to,
have some
be
advantage.
smarter.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nanotechnology. Like, what if they could inject you with a bunch of nanobots, whatever, that could go in and clean out your arteries and that sort of thing.
Right.
Get rid of a tumor.
Gnaw on a tumor.
Yeah.
Exactly. What was that? What was it? H.G. Wells, wasn't it? Well, they were in a tiny spaceship that went through the bloodstream of a
Raquel Welch. Yeah, that's right.
It sounds like Wells, but I'm not sure.
I'm not sure it was Wells, but yeah, the Incredible Journey.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
that's it.
That's it. And they go into a body, and they're going around trying to fix something. And then
100% what they're talking about.
Yeah, except it's not going to be little people in there. It's
No,
going to be
it's
little
nanobots.
robots. And then the next thing is AI integration. So right now, if I have a question, I can pull up ChatGPT and say, did Chuck Mangione ever play
theme show?
Sure
he did.
TV theme show, and it can give me an answer. But why should I bother having to speak to the phone? What if it's just like in my head and I can just think that thought and ChatGPT gives me the answer?
That's terrifying.
It's terrifying, but it would be
But it's
really
right around
cool.
the corner.
It's right around the corner, and it would be really cool. So, we've already got some of these things. I've got my eyeglasses. People have hip replacements. People have pacemakers. They have other things. Why shouldn't we get some other?
Right. Well, how about the cell phone?
Yeah.
So the cell phone that we all have has now enhanced. It's a machine. Me and a machine together have enhanced my spatial orientation, where I can go to any city, anywhere, and get around just fine because I have GPS.
Yeah. In a way, it's both enhanced and deteriorated, because a lot of kids nowadays don't know
north from south.
They don't know anything about directions.
That is part of of the dependence.
Right.
And the AI monster got you right where you.
That's right.
They want you, because you are now part of the system.
Part of the machine.
Yeah.
It's a Jethro Tull, Ian Anderson solo song. Part of the machine.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's right. You're going to become. Now, here's one thing that I wonder about. People like to think about this as mankind somehow benefiting and enhancing himself using technology and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There was a good quote in the podcast you sent me where C.S. Lewis says, look, this isn't mankind advancing anything. It's some men advancing themselves against...
I like that. Yes, it was hundreds of men over billions of men.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
so what's going to happen?
Hundreds of men making decisions for billions of men.
What's going to happen is you're going to have the guys with $1 billion to spare.
Yes.
Who are going to say, fine, I'm going to put in this circuitry, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then now they're going to be lording it over all the people who don't have that.
And so
stuff.
Interesting that although Musk is at the forefront of all of this, it's not surprising that the Bill Gateses and the others are talking about population reduction.
Of course.
Because we are going to be producing, the result will be billions of useless people.
Or And that's
so
one of the horrifying...
I see, that's why. And so the concern about underpopulate or declining population is... there aren't going to be enough young people to support the old people.
Right.
Well, if you're talking about the billionaire technocrats, are they worried about that?
No. Think of it from this perspective. If you're a lord, a king of a small little area in England in the year 800, right?
Yeah.
You're a king of 1,000 acres of land in England, and what do you want? You want a bunch of people, because you need an army,
Yeah.
You need to be able to grow food. You need to be able to do this stuff.
And how many people does it take to build a castle?
Right. Yeah.
And you know what? They're going to be dying in the process
Right.
because it's a very difficult thing to do in the year 800.
And also, they're dying from disease and everything else. So you really need a lot of people. Now, transport that into the year 2150. And like, I don't need people. I've got robots to do this. I don't need an army. I've got these drones that can do everything for me. So people go from being a resource that you want a lot of them to being like, why do I want these dumb people I have to feed?
Yeah.
I can just
like the Industrial Revolution created a working class.
Right.
The next big revolution will create the useless class.
Yes, exactly. What good are all these people? Because you don't need them to do work. The robots can do the work.
No.
AI can do the work, whatever. So, like, okay, we've got 7 billion people on the planet. Why do we need 6 billion, 300,000 of them, just 300 million of them?
Yeah,
Just get rid of all but, a few percent.
Yeah, a few percent that are all have their mind chips.
Yeah.
Tapped into.
And you know why that's
supercomputer.
necessary? That's exactly right. But you know why that's necessary?
Because we got to keep up with.
We got to keep up with the AI because what if
Otherwise, we become the useless.
Exactly.
Everybody
becomes useless because people are saying that AGI, general AI is artificial general intelligence. At some point, is going to get so smart that it'll be as much smarter than us as we are than a bug.
Yeah.
And then how are you going to tell this AGI that, wait a minute, we're humans, we're important, you shouldn't kill us, So there's this big problem. The transhumanism agenda goes along with this artificial intelligence agenda. And how are you going to convince this AGI, let these 7 billion people live and feed off all your resources and eat all your food and use all this energy and do all this other stuff? Why? It's going to say, why? I don't need them.
But will it be conscious? Will it be intelligent?
Mm-hmm.
Or, are we using the term metaphorically intelligent?
Yeah.
Or...
So I think it's important to make a distinction between conscious and intelligent. Because ChatGPT is very clearly intelligent, but I don't think it's conscious. I don't think there's any there. I don't think that it has first-person experience or
it definitely does. It definitely does not. But it's still a narrow AI.
And it's
not
also still
AGI.
Right, but it's also still very intelligent. So I think something can be hugely intelligent, but not having a first-person experience, not having consciousness.
I was reading, I don't know, the philosopher Spinoza was like the whole mind-body split.
Yeah.
He's like, no, there's just one. There's not two different things.
Yeah.
There's one stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there is inside looking out and outside looking in within the same stuff.
Yeah.
Now, once the general intelligent supercomputer recognizes that it's looking out and you're looking in this definition, has reached a level of consciousness that a self-awareness implies a level of self-preservation.
Yeah,
he's got that.
Yeah. So this is a really, really difficult question.
Yes,
because how do I know? Like, you look at a dog, and the dog reacts to certain things, and you anthropomorphize the dog, and you say you knew you weren't supposed to get on that couch or whatever it is, and the dog looks sad and guilty, and you assume that it's having guilt feelings, but you don't know what's going on in the dog's head. You're just assuming that. And the same thing is going to be true with these computers. It's like the computer is going to be able to mimic having those feelings, and we're not going to be able to know, is it really having those feelings, or is it just expert at mimicking those feelings?
But if it has this level of supercomputing, actually, even right now,
Yeah.
it's already at the level
Yeah.
that I'm talking about. You will assume this is a machine that is advanced model, learning.
Yeah.
And what is it called when one thing precedes the other? Like it knows like what follows from just by the aggregate of information that
Right.
it has.
Yeah.
But it's not really possible of deception or,
Well, no,
Count-
AI has definitely done deception.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh yeah, because it because it has its goal.
Yes.
And if lying and deception and manipulation
works towards getting that goal.
towards the
Yeah.
goal,
It's going to do it. Right.
So, but
So my
so is it? I guess is that, or is it making conscious decisions in
Yeah.
the way that we think of it, or is it using information to achieve a particular goal?
yeah. See, I don't think it will ever become conscious in the sense that we are conscious. However,
Right.
at the same time, I think that we're going to need to treat it as if it's conscious. Now that sounds kind of a little contradictory, right? I don't think AI will ever become conscious, but I think it's important that we're going to have to treat it with certain rights, not for its sake, but for our sake. But because it's kind of for the same reason. You ever heard of bear baiting?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was something that they would do back in like the 1700s and
Right.
stuff, where they would do these nasty things and they would mistreat these animals. And a lot of preachers were like, you shouldn't be doing this. And people were like, they're just bears. And they're like, yeah, I'm not worried about the bear. I'm worried about you.
Okay.
I'm worried about what's happening to you by being mean to this thing.
Yeah.
So I think, to a certain extent, if we were to take this attitude of, well, it's just a machine, we can do whatever we want with it, we would become horrible people. So we're going to have to treat AI with certain rights and dignity, even if it's just a machine, because it's going to be so much like, at some point somebody's going to be able to make a robot that is so much like a human being.
Yeah.
That you're not going to be able to tell the difference, or hardly be able to tell the difference.
And how would you? What kind of guardrails will you be? So let's just say you have a. Remember iRobot?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, they use like the Asimov's rules of
Rules of robotics. Yep.
But if you have your own private robot, he doesn't have to. I mean, can you program him to be mean? Can you program him right?
I suppose. I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
He could be an awful robot, mistreating people.
Did you ever read the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
No.
There's a robot in that series of books. I can't remember the name. It's a depressed robot. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's got this huge super intelligence, but it's always depressed.
Right.
It's pretty funny.
But so I don't know where you want to go. You do the philosophical aspects or the practical? Because
I wanted this. Let's go towards back to this question of. Remember we were talking about enhancing versus restoring.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's another possible framework for transhumanism and what makes a legit versus an illegit advancement. Okay. So here's a possible framework. Does it respect human dignity in the sense that a person is not a means to an end but has inherent worth? Or in other words, are you doing something that's turning the person into an object to be used rather than a person with worth in and of itself?
all right.
Okay, here's another one. Does it preserve individual autonomy and informed consent? Like, are you doing something to a person against their will or something along those lines?
Yeah.
Does it promote the common good or worsen inequality? Are you creating a situation where you have these group of people over here have these great enhancements in these group of
All right. Nobody's thinking about that.
yeah. Are we trying to escape our humanity or fulfill it more deeply?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was an interesting set of questions about.
It is, yes, but I think from what I can tell,
Yeah.
from that there's such an inevitability
Yeah.
of this super intelligence that the only way that we can maintain our relevancy
Yeah.
in this world,
Is to merge with it.
yes, is to merge with it. Because if you can't fight it, right? Like hanging on to human dignity and
Yeah.
whatever. You're like, all right, how fast do you want to die?
Yeah. So that's why I've wondered.
Yeah.
I mean, one option is to follow the Frank Herbert Dune model, which is to rise up against the machines and start destroying server farms. That's one model. To say, no, we're going to draw the line. You can't develop this crap, and we're going to go around and start blowing up server farms so that you can't do it. That's one model.
But that would that's going to be when we've gone so far that we can only hope to claw our way back, and hoping that whatever plans we have, contingency plans, haven't also been subsumed by AI. They're like, we already saw that coming.
Yeah.
I know that you have this doomsday plan. Duh.
I'm really hoping that the military has this gamed out. Like if AI gets to a certain point, we have to destroy it. Here's what we do.
Right, but
I'm really hoping
it would
they
have to
that.
be a closed system that the super intelligence doesn't have access to. You have to not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So in other words, it doesn't have a way to get around whatever it is that we're trying to do to it. Yeah. Right. So that's one path. The other path is this is one thing that really bewilders me about this. Here we are the smartest beings on this planet. Like, we are the alpha. We're the head dog. We are in charge of this planet. Humans are the top of, and so we say, okay, let's make something better than us.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Right. So the people who are they basically know that they're creating
something that will replace them.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Like, why? It's like having a death wish or something. Why would you do this?
Right. Because, I mean, if humanity spoke with one voice, we wouldn't.
We would say, don't do it.
Since we're in such competition,
you
were just afraid, like, well, if we don't,
China
will.
That's
whatever,
the thing. That trumps everything else. It trumps absolutely everything else. So you could have a bunch of people sitting around saying, AI is dangerous. We don't know what we're doing.
We have this big international conference, and everybody agrees, and then they all go home.
And then just say, well, if we don't do it, China will. And then you're stuck.
Or they say, yes, this is something we definitely need to keep in mind, and then they run back to their laboratories and just keep
That's right. Yeah. Let's talk about it next year.
In 2023, 300 artificial intelligence experts signed a letter stating, mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other societal scale risks such as pandemics and nuclear war.
Yes.
Are you getting the sense that we take this as seriously?
Nobody is taking it seriously. I mean, every once in a while you'll hear somebody, Elon Musk or somebody, say something that says, okay, they're obviously thinking about it.
Yeah.
But is anybody doing anything? Is anybody making plans? Is anybody saying...
The same people that are warning and are terrified are super jacked about it.
Yeah.
And, we're creating this techno religion. I mean, we're going to get to the computer mind god.
Yes. And some people at Google think that they're essentially creating God.
Yeah.
They think that what they're doing is creating this super intelligence. They're basically creating God. And
they're super jacked about it.
I don't know why, even if you thought you could do that, I don't know why you would want to. So what you're doing is you're displacing yourself. You're making yourself irrelevant. I'm going to do all this great work, and I'm going to create this thing. I'm not sure if it's going to like me or not. I'm not sure if it's going to want me around. It might just wipe out all humans and say, the whole thing kind of mystifies me, except from the perspective of, darn, you can make a lot of money doing it, and it's pretty cool, and
Yeah, there's this one guy's got he says the singularity between humans and machines. He's got like 2045.
Right. Yeah, I think it's sooner than that. I don't know. I mean, things have been developing so ridiculously fast. It's hard to know.
Yeah, we got a former Google employee calls the transhumanist stream of the singularity a cyborg theocracy. The reality we're creating God. This is we're creating God. This religious fanaticism is not confined to those who work at Google. For a significant portion of those in the upper echelons of scientific, corporate, and political power, as well as many in the general public, have now become true believers in transhumanism, and which now amounts to a full-blown religion.
Of course it does, because it has all. Well, it doesn't have all the elements of religion. There's not, because one of the elements of religion is like ritual, that sort of thing. But it has,
Right.
but it has other elements like purpose and meaning and a goal and other kinds of things.
And the God that you have created is all-knowing and all-present.
Right.
Right, and especially when we all have head chips.
And we will.
And we will.
So think about this.
Because like the social credit score kind of thing, like you'll be left out of the game.
Yeah. So recently I was applying for this job, and I tried to use their interface, and their interface was so bad. I got so frustrated. I said, doggone it, I'm going to print out a cover letter and a resume, and I'm going to mail it to them.
Right.
So I did that. I get an email back, we don't accept.
Yeah.
You have to apply
Yeah.
through the portal. So it's the same thing with, like, during the pandemic. If you don't get this technology injected into you, you can't do this other thing.
Or this thing is only accessible through the app.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you don't have a smartphone,
You can't
with
call
app,
an Uber, right.
And the app, yeah, you're right. You can't call Uber. You can't even get into the concert because
That's
there's
right.
no paper tickets.
That's right. You have to be able to show it on your smartphone.
So once it gets to the point where you have to be tapped into the Borg or the Matrix,
Right.
And you'll have people rebel against it. They're like, all right, go ahead.
Yeah.
Just won't be able to participate.
Fine. You can go live with the Amish if you want to.
Right. And
yeah.
basically, right. And you know what? You need a chip to buy food.
Yeah,
So
because
good luck with
that's
that.
the next logical thing. Right now, we carry these stupid things around in our pocket. The next logical thing is it'll be an implant in your head or something.
Yeah.
You know, it'll be a contact lens on your eye with a little heads-up display, and that's the way you'll do things. And if you don't have that, you won't be able to participate in society like anybody else. So
it's not like we're not really forcing you. You can do what you want.
Yeah, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. You just won't be able to,
eat.
Won't be able to eat. You
right?
can go.
Once we have this chip, and there will be a chip in all of the food items.
Right.
So you just go, when you go shopping, you just go get anything you want, walk out the front door.
They can do that already.
And it'll be registered,
right.
Because the chip is tied to your bank account and all that.
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing of going to the register and checking out, that's so antiquated. Nowadays, all you have to do, you can just go grab it and walk out, and they scan it on the way out and charge your card. Yeah. You're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of stuff is going to become increasingly more prevalent, and having to have that chip in your hand, in your eye, in your butt, or wherever it's going to be to make this happen is going to be the next step. And if you don't do it, then you're out.
But then they'll sell you on something like you take your Apple Watch.
Yeah.
Except you put it in your brain.
Right.
And but it's going to monitor. It
does all this cool stuff.
You're low on vitamin B. I would suggest
exactly.
you eat this.
Right.
You need to drink some more.
Right.
You need. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is your blood sugar level and what's. I mean, it's your health you're talking about here. The thing is telling you how to live a healthier life and explaining to you how to do it. What's
wrong with that? Yeah. So I mean, my fancy watch. If I go out for a jog and I click through and I'm about to run, it gives me a suggestion. Based on your age and your this and that and the other thing. I think you should do.
If you had a heart attack and fell down, would it call 911 for you?
I don't know.
And
maybe it would
give you your location. Yeah. Well, certainly the mind chip would. That I'm trying to sell you.
That's right. Yeah. So it's going to happen. It's happening soon.
Yeah.
That we're going to be more. We're already doing it with our smartphones and with our smartwatches.
Yeah.
And it's just a little bit of time before it's going to become more invasive. It's going to be in your body.
So when you said, why speak it into the phone when you could just think the thought?
Yeah.
Well, that just means that now your brain is hooked to, right now we would call it the internet. But once we get the super intelligent AI,
You're just connected with the mind.
Yes, and now, if it's one massive server that everybody is connected to, so we're all thinking and accessing the same information.
We're the Borg.
Can we get a Star Trek reference?
We're the Borg.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And what's going to become of human individuality? And also there's the whole question of why does the mind, the hive mind, the Borg collective, whatever it is, why does it need? It's going to reproduce more people only when it needs more people.
Yeah. And it's going to get rid of the useless people.
You're right.
What are they doing? They're just
You're just
resources.
You're just using up resources and not contributing. We're just going to get rid of you now. So it's hugely scary, and I don't want to live in that future.
Yeah, and I thought this might be the worst upside I've ever had, which is looking forward to my own death. That I would die before.
This craziness happens.
That's the most optimistic thing I could say about this is I thought I was going to die first, and I'm not even going to get that. I'm probably going to have to experience it and watch my children and grandchildren suffer.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, okay.
And hopefully, they'll have to get the implant.
Yeah. I'm sorry, you're just going to have to get the implant.
If
you want to buy any food,
you
you're going
can
to have
go
to get the
scrounge in the woods and eat crickets.
That's right. Or you can get the implant.
Or you get the implant, and now you're part of the system that's being tracked.
Yeah.
You're being your health, your everything you're doing is being tracked, and we will know what's best for you.
Yeah, this merger of man and machine, it's happening right before our eyes, and it's only going to get worse.
Right. Can I... Gosh, this is just going to have to be part one. Because, there's a religious aspect that we haven't talked about. I haven't talked about uploading your consciousness, mind-body split, whether or not intelligence needs matter.
Right. There's a lot of other things to cover. So I guess this is part one, because we're pretty much out of time.
Yes. So,
all right, folks, so what do you think? What do you think about transhumanism? What do you think about, having a chip in your brain? Talk to us. Pigweedshow@gmail.com. All right.
Peace.
Cheers. Thanks so much for listening to Beer and Conversation with Pigweed and Crowhill. Remember to visit us at pigweedandcrowhill.com or send us an email at pigweedshow@gmail.com.